Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. We're on with Kimberly Klacik, who ran for congressman in Baltimore. And the latest is between she and Candace Owens in this public feud. And she has not said anything as a result of the salacious allegations. And this is her first public statement. Kim, welcome to the show. And obviously, you're in shell shock from the allegations and the things that are happening to you in your career. Talk to us briefly about what you have to say about all that has gone on.
Yes, thank you, Armstrong, first of all, for having me today. I am in shock. My family's in shock. We have private citizens and businesses that have been put under fire. They are also in shock. But we have not actually spoken out until now because we wanted to make sure that we all obtain legal counsel so that we can move forward the correct way and the intelligent way. But, you know, this all started out from a tweet. I think there was some misleading information out there. Some people thought it was from a tweet of Candace's dislike for Juneteenth. That is a lie. That is wrong. This tweet that was sent out, she said that something about Black people being brainwashed and by Democrats and they have to wake up in their communities. I quote tweeted that tweet. And I said, you know what? Black people are not brainwashed. A lot of Black people in underserved communities know that it is classism, not racism. I said sometimes the loudest voices with the loudest platforms have the biggest mouths. And I said, you know, this might come as a shock to you because of your lack of engagement in the Black community. That, Armstrong, was the tweet. That is what started all of this. And that's why we're here, I guess, at this point today.
What about the allegations? I don't want to get into this. I mean, that you're some kind of an operative for Republicans and their money and you support Democrats. And obviously what you did in your campaign when you ran for office, you wanted to really understand the communities and you hired an expert who just happens to be a Democratic operative to sort of help you with the messaging.
Correct. If anybody knows anything about running for office, especially a congressional campaign as you do, and so many others do, but this individual, Candace Owens, does not. You hire a Democrat that has the voter information that allows you to see which independents and moderate Democrats are good to target to hopefully go and knock doors, phone calls to persuade for their vote. It is a D+30 district that I ran in. You would have to reach the Democrats in order to flip this district. And so we hired Democrats and Republicans that had this voter information so that we can target everyone that was an active voter in the past 5 years. And that's usually how this works. But again, if you've never run a campaign, if you've never run for office and you've never worked on a campaign, you wouldn't know that. And that is why I am defending that issue, because Candace Owens has never done that.
You know, I know people who know you very well, and they vouch for the fact that you've never been involved with drugs, taking drugs, but yet there's allegations of cocaine use between you and your ex-husband.
Yes. So my husband and I are estranged. We actually separated in October before the November elections. This is not something that I talk about because obviously this is a private matter. My husband is a private citizen. He does not like the spotlight whatsoever. He's a certified public accountant. And so she made the allegations that we were laundering money and doing drugs and recruiting, I guess, women to a adult club, which is basically saying that we are accused of human trafficking. She made all of these allegations about a certified public accountant and a former congressional candidate. She said in this video that she could not verify any of this information. She said that we were partying in a club during the campaign with campaign funds. Armstrong, if she was the detective that she pretends to be, she would know that all of the clubs in Baltimore City were shut down due to the pandemic in Baltimore. So there was no possible way anybody was partying in a club or able to launder money into a club that was completely closed.
You know, I know there are the allegations about your being a former stripper. And, you know, people don't understand. All of us have past. None of us are perfect. We do things in our lives that we're not proud of. But, you know, we're forgiven and we become better people. You're not the person who you were years ago. You're the person who you are today.
That is true. And you know what? I feel bad for all those young women that are now, you know, out there that probably thought, you know, why would she attack other women for doing what they can maybe to make ends meet? Who is she to tell anybody what job they could or could not do when it is legal? It is legal to be an exotic dancer. That's not an illegal job. But I feel bad for all those women that currently have that occupation that probably feel attacked right now.
The main thing we wanted to do was have you on the day, give you a forum to share your perspective instead of not just saying anything. I mean, we wish you well. It's so unfortunate to see two powerful, very accomplished women involved in this kind of feud in the public. There's so few of you who happen to be conservative and who are black and have this substantial platforms. And you know what? We live in a country where people are innocent until they're proven otherwise. And you should not lose your way of life because of allegations that have not been proven. We wish you well. Certainly, we will continue to have you on our platforms. We appreciate what you do. We appreciate what Candace Owens does because there's room for both of you. And hopefully you can settle this and move on. But we really appreciate your joining the Armstrong-Williams Show today for the clarification. And also, just know that you're in our prayers, you're in our thoughts, and we just hope that people don't just discontinue their association with you because of these allegations. I mean, you have so much to offer, and like I said, we wish you well in the future.
If I could say one more thing, Armstrong, I just want to say those private businesses that were accused of not being in good standing during the pandemic and the lockdown, all city and state buildings were closed. That is why they didn't have their standing updated online. They are in good standing, and as COVID restrictions lift, you will see that it just was not updated online. And so that's the information that she was going off of. And I just hope that all those supporters of mine out there and donors and everybody that supported our run and now our PAC understand that I am still the same person they have always known to be. It is saddened that we come to this point that fake news can be produced as real news. But I am not that person, and they can trust me as usual moving forward.
Thank you so much, Kim Kleisik, and we'll be talking to you again in the future. I'm Armstrong Williams.
All right, so thank you, Armstrong Williams, a very prominent Republican, for hosting that interview. I know it's only 6 or 7 minutes long, but that's because it's going out on television as well, and so we have to, do what the broadcasters say to do. But I wanted to go ahead and address some more stuff. Following this video, you'll actually see, well, not following it, but on this video, like as we go in, you'll see Jesse Melton from Florida explaining to you guys how much canvassing costs. We actually got a really good deal in our canvassing. And when I say canvassing, these will answer the questions to why so much money went to Fox and Lion LLC. So definitely, when I'm done talking, it'll go straight into Jesse and you can see all of that for yourself. Which thank you, Jesse, for explaining that, because I don't have time. So first of all, I know a lot of people were wondering, why didn't I come out and answer questions immediately? I'm not a very react on emotions kind of person. Like sometimes I do, you see me on Twitter, react emotionally, but I think in this situation where you have crazy accusations of federal crimes against yourself, your family and other private citizens, you have to observe, you have to gather, you have to get legal counsel, and you have to listen to legal counsel. You can't just start, going out there and be like, oh, I did it. I think people want to see this social media fight, and that's just not going to happen when it comes to me. Right? I'm almost 40 years old. It's just not. I'm a grown woman. And so, when some people ask, well, why did you block Candace? Before I blocked Candace, I asked her if she wanted to go on Instagram Live and hash out whatever she wanted to hash out. She didn't want to go. She wanted to do it on her show because we all know to watch her show, you have to subscribe. You wouldn't see it for free. You have to subscribe. And then that helps her, with her ratings and helps her in Daily Wire, get money. They need more subscriptions for people to watch the show. And so that's what that was about. And for me, I said to her, if you're really about, me answering any of these questions, even though you're not a journalist, let's just go on Instagram Live. She refused to do it. I then got a call from a donor that we share. The donor that we share said, please do not go back and forth with this girl. He said, if you can, just block her. So I blocked her, I didn't think anything of it. They have blocking on social media, so you can do it if you want to. She was in my direct messages. I didn't post these just because I don't play that game. But she was direct messaging me every hour for 3 days, right? It went from Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. And then I just made that little short video on Sunday just to address everything she was saying on Instagram. But yeah, I was like, dude, you have a new baby and a husband, and here you are literally direct messaging me all day long for 3 days straight. So I didn't know what was going on. it was very odd and bizarre behavior to me. And so that donor was like, let her die on this hill alone. So I said, okay, sure. So I think some of the questions that were not answered, if I can run through them real quick. Fox and Lion LLC, like I said, Jesse's going to explain to you how much canvassing costs. A lot of people don't know how much campaigning costs. And a lot of this, like, I think that's what we see in this story. There are a lot of people ignorant to what it takes to run for office. And so I don't expect everybody to know, right? Like, if you're a plumber, I don't know how to do any plumbing. You wouldn't expect me to. So I don't expect you to know how much it costs to campaign. Now, a couple of things, like I said, with the money. I never had access to the Treasury, right? And so if you guys know Eugene, sorry Eugene, throwing your name out there, but Eugene is the one that started off with my campaign when we got in the special election, and he purposely set it up to make sure that this would not happen. And so I never had access. I could not withdraw cash, I could not wire funds, and I could not even write a check. So if I ever said we had to pay for something on the campaign, the treasurer would have to do it themselves. I did not have that access. So to say that I did money laundering, to say that my husband was involved in money laundering and he's a certified public accountant, I can't wait until, his lawyer gets a hold of this whole situation. But that's not something you should be accusing us of doing. It is absolutely false. We had no access to any of the money. Now, I did notice that she did not even mention that we left close to $1 million in the bank. Did anybody account for that? No, because this so-called Instagram investigative and journalist is not an accountant. And I just think it's interesting that people are saying, whatever Candace is saying is factual. It's not. I've never been under investigation for anything. I did nothing wrong. It's so bizarre to me that people think Candace Owens in 4 days did more due diligence than the FEC in an entire year. And this is what they do. Just think about that part real quick. Pearl Events. So some people were saying Pearl Events is not in good standing. Pearl Events is in good standing. Fox and Lion is in good standing. A lot of businesses right now in Maryland are in good standing, but it's not updated online. Okay, so Maryland and Baltimore, those state and city offices were closed because of the coronavirus pandemic. So everybody getting back to work now, they're all now starting to update their systems. Remember, Governor Hogan declared a state of emergency. Now that it's been lifted, I think it's over on August 15th, you should see a lot of those records shift. But people were asking why Pearl Events got $119,000. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see that we have it was our election night party. We went live from our election night party on YouTube. That video is still there. We brought up Big and Rich. We had an event planner because, again, it's election night party. So we could not plan a party and run for office at the same time. We had cigar rollers. We had goodie bags. We had Sagamore Whiskey came and did whiskey tastings. This was a party to host for everybody that volunteered for our campaign. And you guys know we had hundreds of volunteers. So we wanted to make sure that we treated them right. They spent a lot of their time and effort trying to help me win the race. So yes, I don't take that back. I would still pay that much amount of money for the election night party. We had amazing people that worked on our campaign, and I wanted to treat them the best that I could. And I do not regret it. I would not take it back, and I would do it again. So that's that on that. I'm sorry, this is just so crazy to me. Human trafficking we're accused of. Really, human trafficking. So, the lawyers don't want us to get into everything, but I was never a madam. Are you kidding me? Some of these things, you listen to this Instagram live story and it's really? Everything that I do is uploaded everywhere. We even have, if you go to my YouTube channel, you guys probably remember the YouTube series Unbought and Unbossed. I was hooked up to a microphone the last 30 days of my campaign. So I was always mic'd up and I had a camera crew with me the entire time. But now I'm some kind of drug addict that's going around and hanging out in the strip club and taking campaign money and doing it. That is the most wildest and outlandish story I've ever heard. Mind you, all the clubs were closed during my campaign. Again, they were on lockdown. It makes zero sense. The pictures that were posted that I see floating all around, you can find them on my Facebook and on my Instagram. That's where people are taking them from. I don't hide my pictures. It's me. This is my life and I'm fine with it. So again, this is just so crazy to me. The private plane, you can also see that on my YouTube channel. I actually went down to Georgia when President Trump introduced the Platinum Plan rollout. I think we were told maybe 20 hours in advance. Again, this is during the coronavirus, not many flights. I mean, if the president invites you to come speak on stage to present the Platinum Plan rollout, you're going to go. You're going to go. And you're going to do what it takes to get there. And so the very next morning, I had an event in Montgomery County. The Montgomery County Central Committee can tell you. And so we were trying to race back as fast as we could to still have that obligation in Montgomery County. The problem was the president was actually late to the Platinum Plan rollout. And so by the time we got to the tarmac and got out of there, we were too late, which was unfortunate. But, you know, we made it up to the Montgomery County Committee after that. But that is why we did that. It was all about getting out there and doing what we had to do. This wasn't like me taking luxury flights, just hanging out. That wasn't a thing. But you could actually go to my YouTube channel and see the day that I went to do the Platinum Plan rollout in Georgia. You could see me walking on the tarmac. You can actually see the whole behind the scenes and why we did it the way we did it. It's available for everybody to see. You know, the crazy part about this, I know a lot of people want to hear about the money. Oh, the Democrat operatives, which is really weird to say. So this is probably what hurt us the most. And then I don't need to go through all that, but this is what hurt us the most. We had Democrats in Maryland's District 7, especially in Baltimore, willing to help us with our campaign to target Democrat voters. When you're running in a Democrat district, you have to target Democrats to flip that district. If I didn't target Democrats, if I didn't try to flip the Democrat votes, then you could call me a fraud. Then clearly I'm not trying to win. You have to strategize, right? When you run a campaign, you have to know that you have to know basically flipping the district is going to take you messaging, reaching out, phone calls, canvassing in Democrat territory. If you don't do that, you're not going to win. And so we ran to win. And so it's interesting that a lot of people don't know that you do that. And that just shows you how many people in the GOP aren't really serious about flipping these districts. That's really what we uncovered here. The damage that's done is now those Democrats that were helping us, that she wanted to name in her Instagram live video, they're not going to help us now because they're probably afraid that this is going to happen again. So what it did really was basically take away a lot of the work and the progress that we made in District 7. That's the unfortunate part. You know, I have candidates in Red Renaissance, and we're trying to flip districts across the country, and a lot of them are in inner cities. And so now you see this thing come out that now Democrats can completely attack us. And I just feel bad for everybody else that's involved because, you know, those candidates don't deserve this. I don't deserve this. I don't know why, you know, me saying in a tweet, you have a lack of engagement in the community would make her go above and beyond. I don't know. But now I think, you know, a lot of the progress that we made has just been reeled back. When I blocked Candace, I got a phone call from a donor that said, please block her. She looks nuts. We actually share that donor, and he is pulling out support for her because of her antics this past week. You can look it up if you want. There are Blexit chapters now being dissolved because she basically said that she doesn't want to support, you know, what she calls unwinnable districts. And a lot of those unwinnable districts are in predominantly Black areas. And so if your mission with Blexit was to flip, you know, Democrat voters in Black areas, what are you talking about? You know, this literally, what's the purpose of Blexit if you're basically saying, hey guys, don't donate to these candidates that are Blexiting, you know, or that would help these areas, you know, Blexit, as she says. So it makes no sense. And so you could see the chapters are dissolving. We're getting phone calls from people that work at, you know, Blexit chapters that now want to join our movement because they're saddened by the comments that were made by she and Karen Tatum, saying that they don't think that people should help, you know, minority candidates in these areas that are deeply blue. That was probably really sad to see for a lot of people. And you know what? I'm so sorry that if you signed up for Blexit hoping to carry out that mission, that you see now that that's not what your founder intended at all. It's sad. I think that covers everything. I know a lot of people were saying, why did you post a drug test? Again, I work with donors that are millionaires, and these people want to throw support behind my candidates in Red Renaissance. Of course, you want to make sure that your donors know that you're not on drugs, as you've been accused of doing drugs. And so, yes, I thought that was very relevant to this story. I think this whole thing was to take a swipe at my career, obviously, and to swipe at, the donor class that's been helping us. Luckily, a lot of donors reached out and said, we don't buy the story and we support you 100%. I'm on my way to Orlando now. My event has not been canceled. I will be on a panel with Congressman Byron Donalds, and I'm going to go back to life as usual. If you feel that anything doesn't add up and there's nefarious action here, call for an investigation. Ask somebody to investigate me. Call the authorities. I've never been under investigation because I haven't done anything wrong. I've never had access to the money. There is no evidence of money laundering from anyone, not even my treasurer. And we left close to $1 million in the bank. I didn't pay myself a salary, which you would have saw if you looked at my FEC report. Many candidates do, especially when they raise that much money. And so I'm so sad that it has taken, all of this to address this. But hopefully, this answers questions. If not, I don't know what to tell you. We have a lot of people, working behind the scenes as far as lawyers. And I'm going to let them handle this moving forward. But I'm going to get back to work. I want to flip the House in 2022, and I want to help candidates across the country. This is not about me. This is about the Republican Party and us taking back the House. So either you're on board or you're not. I don't know why we would take allegations as truth, but it was very sad to see this transpire the entire week. And I'm starting to think that we have a lot of sheep in our party, even though we talk about sheep on the left, because there were a lot of people that were manipulated in this situation by fake news. But I hope you all have a great week.
In Candace's video and in several messages that I've gotten from people who have never run for office before and don't understand how campaigns work, what happens is when you get to the end of your campaign, that's when everything counts. So you spend however much time you can raising as much money as you can. Why? Because you have to pay for all the people that are going to contact your voters and all the different ways that they're going to do that. It's marketing. You've got to send them text messages, multiple text messages to thousands of people. In my district, I think we had, I don't even remember, 36,000 people. Kim's may have been a little more. And those are people that you have to touch just in a primary. Now, when you go to the general, it's like 4 times that much, if not 5 times that much. So think about sending 7 cents a text message. All of those people, you've got to touch them 7 or 8 times to get name recognition. Then you have Facebook ads. You can geo-target those. Those are also expensive. I'm not going to share all my secrets to marketing because right now we're about to overturn the school board in Palm Beach County using a strategy similar to this. But anyway, mailers cost money. All of the marketing at the end of the campaign, you have to be signs, staff, people to run this. And there's something called canvassers. I hired them in my campaign. And what they do is mail-in ballots start going out about 45 days prior to the election. So 6 weeks prior to an election, maybe 8-10 weeks prior to an election, you start touching voters over and over and over again. They have to remember your name when they get to the ballot box. Congress is not always top of mind. A lot of people don't pay attention to our world. So you send canvassers out. They start door knocking in a district. You're talking about multiple counties, tens of thousands of people, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people. That costs money. There are companies that are great at ground game. A lot of time, they're local community organizations. They can cross lines, believe it or not. They can work for either party. They really don't care. You got college kids or people working for minimum wage. They don't care what t-shirt you put on them or what party you stand for. They're there to make some money. And they walk around and they knock on doors and they talk to people and they leave door hangers. That's how you have to outsmart the voter fraud, or not the voter fraud, rather, the USPS fraud, where mailers get sent out after your election like they did in mine. So you send canvassers out. It's not cheap. At the end of your campaign, so you're sending these canvassers out all the way up until the day of the election. People are still knocking on doors, standing at voter precincts, putting out signs, removing signs, all the way until election day, right? The job's not done. After election day, invoices come in for months of services, sometimes hundreds of canvassers, sometimes dozens of canvassers, whatever it is. In my case, in my campaign, after my campaign was over, probably the 2 to 3 weeks, if you go look on my campaign FEC report, I paid several individuals who were out canvassing for me. I paid individuals that hired other individuals that were out canvassing for me. Sometimes you do it through an LLC, sometimes you do it directly, depends on what the level is. So, in conclusion, Kim's campaign raised a lot of money, and she had a lot of ground to cover. And mind you, she didn't steal money from donors. This isn't taxpayer money. Donors gave her this money to spend as she saw fit to help the country, whether that was to win this election or the next one, or to do what she's doing now, which is helping a lot of other little guys get exposure and win elections. Kim is a hard worker, and she's helping the little man. I can't say the same for the other two. At the end of a campaign, you close out all you owe everybody. In my particular case, I had to pay off the data people that provided the data. I had to pay the people that sent out the text messages. I had to pay the companies that did my digital advertising. I had to pay my canvassers. So there are people that are taking what Candace, somebody who doesn't understand campaigns, says, and they don't understand it, and this is a perfectly legitimate explanation for that. And I think that a lot of little things are being brought together and woven into a story to, I guess, fuel some sort of deep-rooted insecurity. I don't want to bash anyone here, because I'm not going to lie, I have a lot of respect for Candace. I always have. She's on her worst behavior. That's it. I'm not going to lie. But ultimately, it is normal to pay canvassers large sums of money after your campaign. That's when you start paying everybody and getting stuff off the books. I can tell you, after Kim's campaign, she also reserved and kept, it was at least over $2 million. I can't remember because I don't study her campaign finance reports. It was at least over 2 million. I think she still had 2.8 million left, if I remember correctly, or it was 4.2. It was something like that. I know that's a big difference, but she still had a lot of money left, and she rolled some of it over into her PAC and is helping other candidates. She didn't go gobble it all up. By the way, there was some sort of accusation that came from hearsay from a stripper, which Candace has a legal background and has been in litigation before, so Candace should know that hearsay from a random stripper that she found is not a legitimate news source. Let's not be like the other side. Candace calls some stripper who knows how this stripper felt about Kim, who knows if the woman was on drugs or not. This woman makes a claim that Kim's in there partying and doing drugs after her campaign. Mind you, this is in Maryland. Clubs were shut down, including strip clubs during this time. Okay, so don't just take everything Candace is saying as gospel, because she has been correct on a lot of things. There are a lot of things that I agree with her with. And there are a lot of things, there are several issues with Kim that I don't necessarily agree with. But taking advantage of people who don't understand campaign finance and don't understand how campaigns work, and taking all these pieces and trying to weave them together to point someone out as a quote-unquote bad person is wrong. It's ungodly, it's deceptive, it's manipulative, and Candace needs to repent from it. Now, I don't know how strong Kim's legal case is. I can tell you right now that Candace knows her way around a legal system, so she knows how to put things together without getting herself in a situation where she could be sued for defamation. You have to have certain elements in order to prove defamation. I know this because I was sued during my campaign. What Candace is doing to Kim happened to me during my campaign on a smaller scale, and it's really dirty and it's really nasty. And it was Republicans that did it to me that were really nasty and really jealous. And I'm sorry, but that's exactly what I see again happening now on a larger scale.